Hi guys, I'm here. I'm alive. Even though I'm all bones, I promise I'm still here. I just, life happens and sometimes life gets in the way of fun. So you don't post any videos for like 2 months. But I'm back. I promise there'll be more videos. And I want to say thank you to anybody that subscribed while I was on my little hiatus because that's crazy that people did that. So you must be finding old videos from last Halloween, I'm thinking, because right now I know Halloween videos are popular. So if you liked those and you subscribed, I promise there'll be some more before this Halloween very soon, probably next week. But anyways, today I am making a very teeny, eensy weensy microscopic little house for inside a dollhouse for the lovely Era at Bentley House Minis. If you're not familiar with her channel, it's obviously a miniature channel, and she is currently making a Beetlejuice dollhouse, and she's going to recreate the diorama in the attic of the replica of the town. So she said that if her subscribers wanted to make a little tiny house to send her, that some of them may make it into that diorama. So I decided to make one for her. And I specifically decided to make the well, I guess spoiler already. I'm going to spoil it right now. I decided to make the Addams Family house because her first huge dollhouse project that she completed was the Addams Family house. So that I feel like because it was such an accomplishment that it would be nice to have a little version of that in the Beetlejuice house. So that's what I'm doing. Um, you really need to watch her channel if you haven't, even if you don't make doll houses. It's just, or you just think they're fun and cool. It's so fascinating to watch and see how she makes things. And she does a lot of videos where she makes some sort of a miniature scene and then she writes a story with it and she does a voiceover of the story, and she's a fantastic writer. She's very creative and she seems very sweet and kind, and she's just, her channel is great. She's great. I wish I could meet her. But anyways, so this is me making that for her, and then one little other bonus item for one of her other dollhouses. And I will talk more about both of them as I make the project. So yeah, I don't know what else to say other than that. I always ramble. So let's just make the thing, okay? So here we go. Let's go waste some talent.
I'm starting out by roughing out the base for the mansion. I'm measuring my thumb because Era said that the houses needed to be about the size of your thumbnail to fit the scale she's looking for. Unfortunately, mine is a mansion, so it needs to be kind of big. So I went about 2 thumbnails, which might be too big for her scale, but I figured if it is, she can just have this as a cute little keepsake that a fan made for her. And once I get this sketch out on paper, I'm going to cut it out and then trace it onto some thicker material. I'm using some packaging material that's about the same thickness as a cereal box. Next, I'm making a series of rectangles out of that same cardboard chipboard material so that I can build walls. And I'm just kind of guessing as I go along. I'm doing this by eye and I'm making this up off the top of my head. So I don't have any measurements that I can give you. So sorry. But I created the 3 back walls, and then I am cutting out panels for the front of the house right now as well. But I'm going to put the front panels aside for the time being, and I'm going to start with the back walls. So I'm going to tape those back walls together with masking tape just as a temporary hold to get them where I want, and then I'll be going over all the seams after with wood glue to have them stay in place permanently. Now I'm trimming out a little bit of one of the side walls because that side of the house is going to be shorter. So there's a balcony on top. So I'm just taking out a little chunk to accommodate for that. I need to make the small walls for the front part of the house, and if I were to just make them to size, they would be such skinny slivers they'd be impossible to glue in correctly. So what I'm doing is actually making those walls go all the way through the house so that they are also acting as a support system for the inside. And they are too long, so I am going to trim them. That's what I'm doing here with my ruler. I'm just marking where I need to trim those down. I'm trimming them even with the base that I drew out. And now that they're in place, I can start adding those front panels on that I cut and put aside a little bit ago. Again, this one little area is shorter because it's going to be a balcony, so I'm just trimming that wall down so that it's the correct height. And I'm using wood glue for all of this because that's nice and strong for gluing paper and cardboard. And every time I glue something on, I do go in the back with more wood glue so that those joints are nice and strong and my walls are not going to move around. And tweezers are very helpful when you're working on something this small. Oh, yeah. Now I had started off with my 3 front sections being the same height, but the 2 side sections actually need to be shorter because the center tower is the tallest part of the house. So this is just me showing you that I trimmed down the 2 sides to make them a little bit shorter. And now I'm going to create the sloped roofs. I don't know what the proper way to say that, but I'm just again eyeballing things and cutting little pieces of cardboard, and I'm just going to dip that in some glue and attach it to that little side area at an angle, like so. And I'll repeat that on the other side so that we have 4 of those, 2 on each side of the center tower. And then I'm gonna cap off the top with some more cardboard. And I'll do that for both of the 2 sides as well as the center tower. The one for the center tower is more just for strength because I will cover it up later. And now that that's in place, I'm just gonna trace out the rough shape of the side so that I can fill in the side walls so that we don't have just holes in the side of our house. I apologize for my camera. I keep getting too close to it and it has trouble focusing. I've never filmed nor made something this tiny, so it's kind of, I was learning a lot of things as I went along. I'm just gluing in the little balcony floor first so that I can then glue on these side roof pieces and get the right angle. So this little piece was actually a scrap. I cut off something else and it happened to be the right angle on one side, so I just trimmed the other side to match. And now I'm just again eyeballing the other pieces that I need to glue on to make a roof. And I didn't realize that I was off camera for this next part, so I did create a small little bump out window that you just saw me glue on, and then I created a roof cap for the top. And this was me trying to show it to you, but my camera wasn't focusing. But anyway, that was the basic structure completed. Sorry I didn't get the footage for the last part there. But now that it's done, I am going to just base coat the entire thing in black acrylic paint. And now I am meticulously gluing on shingles to all the roof areas. And these shingles were made by using a very teeny tiny hole punch. So I just spent a very, very long time gluing them on one by one with tweezers and wood glue. And I just kept repeating that process over and over until the roof was covered. You can kind of see here how it would look with all of them glued on. But I didn't want to bore you, so I'm just skipped ahead to where it was done, and I also base coated those shingles with black as well. So you can't really see them right now, but once I start painting, you will be able to see them. And I just started with a base coat of gray on the house. And while that's drying, I decided I want to put the house on a base. And so that's what I'm creating here. So I roughed out the basic shape I want the ground to be, and now I'm going to make a tree out of some really cheap wire from the Dollar Tree. I'm just using scissors and my pliers to bend it into shape. And then I will cut out my base and poke a hole where the tree is going to go, and I will go ahead and glue my wire tree right into that cardboard base. And then I'm going to set that aside to set the glue while I go back to painting the little house. So now that the gray base coat is dry, I'm just going over it with a pointy tool to make shingle patterns, or siding, not shingles, siding patterns on there, so it looks like it has some siding. And then I'm going to dry brush white on top of that to kind of bring out that siding texture that I carved in there. And now I'm taking teeny tiny little pieces of my cardboard and gluing them on for shutters. For the windows, I was off camera again. All I did was just paint black squares on, nothing fancy. Now I wanted to put the spikes on top of the house, like the balcony railings, but I needed something really small for that. So I cut some pieces off of a bottle brush tree and used wood glue to attach that. And they are a little long right now. I'm going to wait till they're dry to trim them down. And again, I'm just going to keep bouncing back and forth between the base and the house while things are drying. So I'm just going to give the tree a base coat. And I'm going to use Era's technique from her actual Addams Family house. And I'm going to glue some faux fur down to use as the grass for the lawn. And this little piece of fur just came off of like a Christmas tree ornament that I had gotten at the dollar store, and I ripped it off of there, and it was perfect for this. And I'm just right here reinforcing the balcony with some more wood glue because I want to make sure that they're not going to pop off. Now I can trim my grass down to an appropriate length. Mowing the lawn, I guess. And I cut another base to the shape of the house that I can glue down. That way I don't have to glue the house to the base. So if Era wants to use just the house and not the lawn that I created, she has that option. So they'll be two separate pieces. And I'm just creating some little cobblestones to make a path to go up to the front door. And I'm just gonna paint those gray. I'm just sloppy painting it so I can get both sides. I'm working on a silicone mat, so it's easy to clean off. And now I'm gonna dye the grass by using the watered down acrylic paint, just like Era did in her video. And I used some browns and blacks and greens. And I'm just using an old toothbrush to kind of comb it through and fluff it out. Now I'm gluing down my cobblestone path. I'm using Fabri-Tac glue for this. I don't know, it was nearby, so that's what I used. And then once it's down, I am gonna, aged things a bit with some more paint. Some of it watered down on the grass. For the tree, I'm just using straight paint, and I'm just kind of brushing on different shades to make it look more like a tree. And now I'm going to cut out some doors. Nope, I lied. This isn't the doors. I'm cutting out some gravestones to put in the yard, and I'm giving those a base coat of gray. And then again, I'm just going to brush on colors and blend things to try to get some more realism onto everything. And when that's all done, I'm using my Fabri-Tac again to glue the gravestones into the grass. Once again, tweezers are your best friend when you're working in teeny tiny scale. Now I'm going back to the house, and I can trim those bottle brush tree bits down to the appropriate size. As you can see, the glue is not entirely dry yet. You can see that it's white, but it's dry enough that I feel safe trimming them. And then I'm just going in and painting all the shutters on the house with some brown acrylic paint. And I'm going in with this white gel pen to add some, what do they call it? Like window pane lines to some of the windows to try to give them a little more detail. And I'm using a bronze or copper Sharpie marker to color in the doors, as well as the little escape panels on the back where Wednesday and Pugsley can shoot out of the back of the house. And to finish this off, I just am adding more paint, and I'm going to do some washes, black and brown, as you can see here, to get everything looking old and grimy and aged. And I'll do a little bit more on the base too, and you'll get to see all of this close up in a couple minutes. So to explain this, Ara also has another dollhouse she's working on called the Fairfield House. I might be wrong, but I think it's called that because the company that manufactures the dollhouse that she's using as her base is called Fairfield, or that's the style of the house she bought. Something like that, I think. I don't know. I might be completely wrong. I don't think she just named it that. I think she calls it that because it's the company name. But anyway, that house, what she's doing is it's a Victorian style house that she decided was going to be like someone moved into it or bought it in the 1970s. So the house itself looks very Victorian, but it's all decorated inside with 70s wallpaper and carpeting and furniture. And the dolls that she got to live in the house are little posable skeletons. So I had originally painted or tried to paint this tiny velvet Elvis painting for an Elvis shadow box that they did. I actually have a video of that if you were interested, but it didn't come out right. Elvis was looking really weird. I wasn't happy with it. So I didn't throw it out. I held on to it thinking maybe I could fix it and send it to Ara for the 70s house. And then I happened to watch one of her live streams, and she mentioned something about having an Elvis painting, only Elvis was a skeleton because the inhabitants of the house are skeletons. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I should be able to, paint over this ugly Elvis that I made with a skeleton, and that'll be much better. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm still not 100% in love with it when it's done, but it's still kind of cute. So I am sending it to Ara along with the Addams Family house. And if she doesn't like it enough to put it into her other dollhouse, I will not be offended because it's not the most professional miniature painting. But I figured I'm already mailing her some things, so I'll just throw it in there and let her decide what she wants to do with it. But Ara, if you're watching this, I would not be offended if you don't use it. I almost threw it in the trash myself. So anyway, gonna make a frame for Elvis now, and this actually does help it look a little bit cuter. I'm using some of the skinny sticks that you can get at Walmart, and I cut them at 45-degree angles, and I'm going to glue them with wood glue. And I'm using little pieces of copy paper on the corners to add strength so that it doesn't come apart. I think Ara calls that dollhouse bandages. And then I'm using some of the miniature dowels, which are also from Walmart, to create a lip around the edge of the frame. And again, I'm going to glue that together with wood glue. And then when that's done, I'm going to flip over the frame and add some decoration to it. And I'm doing that using my wood burning tool that's made by Plaid. I got it at Walmart. This is only the second time I've ever used it. I'm not professional with wood burning, but I'm just doing some simple lines and dots to make a pattern. I noticed a lot of the Velvet Elvis paintings that I saw online from the 70s were framed in like these wooden frames with carved patterns on them. And so that's what I'm trying to recreate with the wood burning tool, which terrifies me. I hate using this thing. It's so scary. But anyway, this is what I came up with. And once that is done and I successfully did not burn myself, I'm going to use some Waverly Antique Wax to stain it. With the Waverly Wax, you put it on and then you wipe it off just like a wood stain. You don't have to wipe it off actually, but you can do that to get like a wood stain look. And I just used a baby wipe to do that. And now that it's done, I'm going to stick the Elvis painting in there, and I have this little channel around the painting where I can fill it with hot glue. So that will keep it in place. And then I'm going to glue another piece of my chipboard material to the back to close it in. And then as a final finishing touch, I am going to coat the back with some matte Mod Podge mixed with brown acrylic paint. Not only will this make it look more finished, but I wanted the back to be somewhat of a glossy surface. So that way, if Era does use this, she can easily stick the painting to the wall using like a museum wax or blue tack, and it won't rip the cardboard off the back of the painting when she tries to take it down. So there you have it. I'm really proud of how this came out. I've never made something so small before, and I really didn't know if I could pull it off. And I actually surprised myself. So I think it's okay to be proud of yourself. So I'm announcing that I am proud of myself. Elvis, not as much, but this little house I think is amazing. And I hope Era feels the same way. And like I said, if it's too big, at least she has something really cool to display, to look at and enjoy, even if she can't use it in the Beetlejuice house. I know that I had about 2.5 months of no videos being posted, and I apologize for that. I'm hoping that will get better now. My regular full-time job is slowed down a bit now, so hopefully I'll have more time to create. And I have a few things that I want to do for Halloween, so hopefully you will see more videos from me more frequently. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, please subscribe and give me a like, give me some comments, show me some love. If you don't already watch Era's channel, I recommend that you go over there right now and subscribe. And I appreciate you guys watching me waste some talent. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe and see you soon.